I listen to metal. I grew up with metal. I've done everything that I possibly could. That's why I feel like that it's time to see what the rest of the world has to offer and other genres as well. My name is Aaron and I grew up as a metalhead. Well, welcome back everybody. I hope that you're excited. We are returning to SB19. And of course, we're continuing down the What Nobody Understands series, and we are doing Ken this time. That is correct. Casual Chuck always puts out such great content. I really love what he's been doing. In any case, let's check it out, shall we? Let's learn a little bit about Ken.
Sino ang pinaka-spoiled sa grupo?
Sino ang makakalimutan? Hindi mong patapos na, nagkamali pa siya. Bakit madami Ken? Bakit si Ken? Bakit si Ken?
Please stop it.
Interesting.
Ken is, in my opinion, the most successful idol in P-pop history. Most fans see him as someone who's living the life most of us can only dream of. But in reality, there's a lot more going on behind all the glitz and glamour. So in today's video, we will reveal the challenges he had to go through just to get where he is today. From being a scrawny kid who only ate instant noodles on his birthdays to becoming the CEO of his own company.
Wow.
Ken's story is like a definition of rags to riches. And the haters are not having it. He quickly became one of the most polarizing figures in the P-pop industry. But before we talk about all that, let's talk about his humble beginnings because it's straight up inspiring.
This is so hype.
It all started in Pagadian, Zamboanga del Sur. This is the countryside where Felipe John Suson was raised. His mom wanted to name him Kenji, but his grandpa Felipe insisted to name him Philip. He was the youngest member of a family that barely had anything financially. They were very poor that instead of a cake on his birthday, all he gets is a plate of instant noodles. Life was so hard that having fried chicken was heaven for him. So it quickly became his all-time favorite.
It is heaven.
Because of this, both of his parents had to go overseas to find better paying jobs to support the education of Ken and his older sister.
Dang.
He had to be taken under the care of his grandparents. He then grew up in a church and his grandpa was the pastor. He was just a scrawny kid who likes mathematics and discovered drawing as his first talent. So he went on to become an editorial cartoonist in school. Family gatherings in the Philippines always require a karaoke machine, and Ken's extended family wasn't a stranger to that. He used to hide during these occasions because he was always asked to sing. I was told by some sources that Ken had a very good singing voice as a kid, but lost his confidence when puberty hit because it gave him an ultra deep voice, which turned out to become one of his greatest assets in the future.
100%. That is.
Pablo.
I never thought na may mga tao talaga makapag-appreciate ng voice ko. Kasi hindi ako ganoon ka confident sa voice ko kasi yung range ko mababa lang tapos malalim yung boses ko. Ngayon, parang naging na-appreciate ko na yung boses ko dahil may mga tao na ka-appreciate na. Nice.
Anyway, his newfound love for music got him to learn his first musical instrument without anyone teaching him. So he ended up becoming a southpaw guitarist, but later fixed it as he learned more.
Beautiful.
He was also active in sports, representing his school in regional tournaments. He played some table tennis and sepak takraw as a spiker.
Whoa!
This position requires exceptional skills to perform explosive jumps to block and spike the ball.
What?
The teacher saw this as a potential that can translate into good dancing, so he was offered to join the dance club for better grade.
What? No. I had to see this.
Sepak takraw as a spiker. For those who don't know, this position requires exceptional skills to perform explosive jumps to block and spike the ball. The teacher saw this as a potential that can translate into good dancing, so he was offered to join the dance club for better grades. He was hesitant at first, but when he tried, you all know what happened next. Watching his early clips feels like he was born to dance. He was even hired by his school to choreograph some dance routines. He then moved to Cagayan de Oro to study architecture in college.
Wow, that's
He
cool.
became a member of the dance crews called Excite, GA7, and Amigo 7. These last two crews were so good, in fact, Ken had a crewmate named Joshua who went on to become a member of a successful international idol group in the future called Z-Boys. They were beating everybody in the countryside, so there was no point in competing there anymore. It was time for the big leagues. They got invited to join major K-pop dance competitions, and this was the first time when Ken met other SB19 would-be members. Not as brothers, but as enemies.
That's so
In one
wild.
particular contest, Josh and Stel's crew defeated Ken's because they already had a GOAT status in the industry at the time. Ken accepted defeat gracefully and even asked to be trained by Josh, which actually surprised him because he thought Ken was a show-off.
Kinausap niya po ako eh. Sabi niya sa akin, Idol Josh. Ganun po tawag niya sa akin yun, Idol Josh.
Idol Josh.
Sabi naman ako sa ano nyo, pa-training naman ako sa grupo nyo. Kahit sa gilid lang ako.
But because of their distance, the training together never happened. Ken then went home to continue his studies. Fast forward to 2017, he received a message from Josh. It was an invite to audition for the 5th member spot of SB19. But there's one problem. Ken had no money, so Josh was like, no problem, I'll take care of it. Ken then told his grandma about stopping school to pursue it, and she was very hesitant because she thought it was a scam, and his parents overseas would have automatically said no. But Ken was so close to his grandma that he managed to convince her to go in secret. So
Wow.
the boy took off to pursue his dreams. He had nothing with him except his phone, his clothes, and a 1,500 peso pocket money. This time when he arrived at the airport, there was no crew. It was all him. So imagine how that must have felt.
This is harrowing.
He took a taxi to SBT Talent Camp, and of course, the drivers camped him. He had to pay 600 pesos for a supposedly 150 peso trip. What a ripoff. Anyway, he finally met Josh and the boys and started training with them for a year while crashing into a distant relative's house to rest up. He slept on the floor, not with a comforter, but a banig. Because if he didn't, he would be homeless. Ken had no salary when he was still training, so he moonlighted as a small-time model to survive.
Wow.
Which is an experience that would play a big role in his future. The dude was literally fighting for his dreams every single day. So here comes 2018 when they finally debuted, and though it was a rocky start, they gradually progressed to become the greatest P-pop group God has ever created. If you want to know more about their story as a group, check out the SB19 story series I made, linked down in the description.
Wow,
Also
wow,
join the
wow.
highest tier of our channel's membership if you're interested to be credited as one of the executive producers. So how did Ken become the most polarizing P-pop idol?
You know, this is kind of one of those things where it makes you kind of just realize that anything is possible. You just kind of have to have that gumption to do it, right? You just kind of have to make sure that you can be as focused and as not as successful, because that might not happen, but as focused and as determined as Ken. That is incredible. Oh, there we go.
Like, how is he either obsessively loved by fans or obsessively hated by bashers? Well, he has this persona of a badass dude who doesn't give a shit. And if you
kinda
combine
true.
that with one of the many accusations thrown at him, then they got themselves a new P-pop villain in the making. But there's one thing in common between all those issues. They lack evidence. There are a few exceptions though, but you can't say a person is arrogant just because he looks cool and badass. The dude is even a
That's called a skill
he tends to
issue.
cry in interviews and emotional moments. His awkwardness as a kid is still there, and this TikTok clip says it all.
Me and you and you and me, just us and your friend Steve. Do 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 Steve. Do 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 Steve. 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 Do 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 Steve.
Also, you can't just call a person lazy just because you've seen a few clips of him sleeping. I mean, isn't it a result of him working too hard? Being an idol and running
Fair
around a
point.
clothing company at the same time is no joke. The dude only used to draw this aspiration, but now he made it happen. He managed to build a company that sold out merch in just minutes.
Wow.
It's even rumored that his company is now worth more than $1 million.
That's
Whether
cool.
it's true or not, it put an even bigger target on his back. And haters
Might have to give me some of
started
that.
with even more ridiculous claims, like accusing him of copying 2 K-pop music videos just because they have a similar vibe. This was easily debunked though. If you want to check it out, I made a video about it, link down in the description. His main dancer position got also heavily criticized because of one single clip of him messing up on live.
I wonder if they brought up Lei Zhang as in EXO? The former member of EXO? All ties back to them somehow, I swear.
TV. It was unfair in my opinion because Ken has always been consistent in his dance performances, yet the haters suddenly forgot about how good he really is. Ken never fired back. Or did he? So why does the poultry still exist and are still growing in numbers after all the bashing? Well, it's because he doesn't only have the alluring personality, but he also has the capability to back it up. Scratch that. Capabilities. What's crazy about Ken is that he has already shown us enough talent like his exceptional dancing and singing that is enough to fulfill a main vocal role.
Saan darating ang mga salita na nanggagaling sa aming dalawa? Kung lumisan ka, huwag naman sana ika'y lumapit na, hindi magkawala aking sinta.
Nice.
Ikaw lang dahanan ay mundo.
Yet he still has a lot of secrets. I'm telling you, man, this guy is a living anime character.
It kind of is, huh?
Have you heard of an idol who is also a CEO? A dancer who is known for his aerial flips but never tells us that he can also breakdance. A singer who writes and co-produces his own songs. A musician that plays guitar, keyboard, drums, and can even beatbox. A
What?
fashion influencer. A man who plays sports like basketball, billiards, volleyball, badminton, table tennis, boxing, and sepak takraw with decent proficiency. A skater boy, an artist, a philanthropist, and most especially, a man of faith. I initially thought that the Superior Sound brand was all about him, but I was quickly proven wrong when I found this Bible verse underneath his Bulan CD.
Huh.
Hebrews 1:5-14. The entire passage is lengthy, but it all boils down to Christ being the superior of all beings.
Wow.
I mean, all of us have different religions. Some don't even have one. But I just respect people like him who stand firm behind their beliefs. As of today, Ken has established himself as an arguably the most successful P-pop idol and the richest among his co-members. And
Wow.
it's just the beginning. They're still on their way to introducing Filipino music to the world through the US as of the making of this video. And his group SB19 is the first one to ever do it. So what have we learned about Ken's story? For me, it was his persistence and willingness to take risks. Have you ever noticed that sometimes it's your loved ones that said no to your aspirations? Because, they care about you. They don't want you to fail and all that. Do you know how many people have had visions, ideas, and huge career moves that they were about to do, but they allowed the word no to stop them? For all I know, you might be one of those people. The difference with Ken is that he never gave the power to the word no. It was his own grandma who tried to stop him, but he continued. Yes, haters exist, but he didn't reject his own ideas just because they rejected his ideas. Haters hate because they feel small when your ideas start turning into reality. He once said in an interview that success is the best revenge, so he stopped killing them with kindness. To this day, Ken has been torturing them with success.
That is so sick. I love that. Gotta let it go fully. Gotta get the full credit. I know what it's like. Whew, you know, it's kind of interesting he brings up, like, people telling you no, that it can't happen. I've kind of always actually been kind of the more opposite. Usually people around me will be like, yeah, no, you can do it. You can do it. You're totally able to do that. And usually really supportive. The problem is generally myself. Usually I am my biggest enemy. And it's tough because I realize it and I recognize it. So when things start working out and things start going well, I'll tell you, I absolutely just realize that I hold myself back, and it's out of silly fears, and I understand that. And I got to learn how to be more like that, because in all honesty, I just really, I think honestly for me, like, if I'm being fully transparent here, for me, my biggest fear is letting down the people that actually put their time into this. And that's always how it's been, even before I had this, even when I was doing podcasting and I had other channels and other endeavors, and when I was on Ballroom and when I was doing vocals. Like, I always thought to myself, like, what if I get to the point where I'm just doing so well that I like basically lose it, if that makes sense. I think to myself, what if I'm sitting there and I am trying to provide the best product possible and I fail? And not even fail like in the same sense of like it didn't work, people don't like it, it was poorly thought out, but like, what if I just don't keep up expectations? And, you know, I think the worst thing is like the idea of like the degradation and the decline of a good product. And I'm not saying that I have a good product, but that's always been the fear. And it gets to me probably a lot more than I ever let on. And seeing this, it motivates me. And, you know, it's all about it's all about pushing yourself past that limit. You know, I've been kind of quoting him a lot, but, you know, there's a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson that says, the difference between an ordinary person and a brave one is just a few extra minutes. And I think about that because in reality, the few extra minutes could be what sets you apart and gives you the success that you want. And in a sense, that kind of reminds me a little bit of Ken. And I think that's a very solid way to go about it. And, you know, killing him with kindness is always one way, but let's face it, yeah, the success part is probably a lot more fun. Anyway, thank you all so much. We'll continue down this, and we will see you for the next one. Goodbye.